How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I wanted to continue the discussion that I began with regards to the role of artificial intelligence on the labor market moving forward. I've already made some several videos disputing the claims that artificial intelligence is replacing graduate accounting professionals in the United Kingdom, number one, and then that it is replacing graduate engineers in the United States of America. In this particular case, when I say engineer, I don't mean software software engineers, programmers, coders, or any of those people. Those people are not engineers. I'm talking about real engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, aeronautical engineers, chemical engineers, petroleum engineers, the real engineers, not coders. Coders are coders, they are not engineers. They are not engineers. And there's a reason why there's not a single engineering council anywhere in the world which issues licensure, licenses, and certification for engineering professionals, including engineers and technicians and technologists, which certifies coders or or computer scientists, if you want to call them that. Not a single one of them. They are not engineers, but that's a topic for another day. So when I say engineers, I'm talking about real engineers who make real stuff. Either they are making buildings, bridges, machines, maintaining machines. They are making products. They're in metallurgy, like metallurgical engineers or chemical engineers, nuclear engineers, and power generation, and chemical engineers and electrical engineers who are in almost every sector. Electronics engineers, those are real engineers. But I'm sorry, that's a detour now that I'm taking. So when I say engineers, I mean those engineers. Artificial intelligence is not NOT, not replacing graduate engineers in the United States of America, and it is not replacing engineers anywhere else in the world. I can bet everything on that fact. But I wanted to now to look at another claim that has been made recently that artificial intelligence is replacing tech workers. And tech workers here now we're talking about coders. There's been several very widespread, almost viral stories about how artificial intelligence is replacing tech workers at Amazon, at Microsoft, um, at places like, let me just check, Shopify. And so I saw this almost a month ago now, and I didn't want to respond to it then because I needed to properly consider the facts here before I can respond. Because if anyone could have their jobs replaced by artificial intelligence, it could very well be tech workers, coders. And herein also lies the problem. If you've been listening to the experts in the past 10 years, they've been telling all of us that all of our qualifications are now worthless. The only thing that matters in the world is being a coder. Don't you remember that? They were telling us that the only people who have a future are coders. And the same people who were telling us that the only people who have a future are coders are also now telling us that no one has a future because of AI. Folks, please, cut the crap. Cut the crap. Cut the crap. I responded to a lot of these things on some of my social media platforms about coding being the future, that everyone needs to be a coder. Because I just thought that it's just absolutely not true. But I have to say though that the shopping that this issue of artificial intelligence replacing coders and tech workers is something that is plausible, though I think that it's unlikely. I'll explain in detail why it is unlikely. I must start by saying that there was one of the things that made a lot of people lose their minds is when the Shopify CEO issued a directive to his employees that they must not hire any new employees unless they may demonstrate that artificial intelligence can't do that task that is intended to be done by the new hire. And so the media took that and ran with it as this is evidence that AI is taking tech jobs. Is that true? Is AI really taking tech jobs? I would say not really, because we don't have any data yet coming out of Shopify to either confirm or to dispute what impact this directive actually has on employment. What I mean by that is that this directive, more than anything to me, it tells me that the Shopify CEO is saying, do everything in your power to increase your productivity by utilizing artificial intelligence in your day-to-day work. And in that particular instance, that would mean that I expect that most, if not all, coders who are working for Shopify or Microsoft or Amazon will, on various stages of their work, use artificial intelligence to complement what they do on the day-to-day. Just in terms of how, for instance, the invention of electricity changed how doctors were able to do operations in an OR. But electricity did not replace doctors. But it optimized and improved the process by which they were able to do their jobs. Many of the things that doctors were not able to do before electricity was founded and before, for instance, like Wi-Fi was founded, now they are able to do. So then when they get trained to become doctors and when they get trained to become surgeons, they incorporate in their training the use of certain tools that were not going to be possible before electricity was discovered. That's really how I see in terms of how a lot of these technological inventions are going to change how we do our jobs. For a lot of us who are considered skilled workers, what's likely to happen is that we will have to incorporate technology in order for us to have higher productivity. But the necessity and the requirement of humans to do the jobs, especially when it comes to skilled jobs as coding, will still be there. With that said, I saw a video that was done by MIT, which obviously you guys know the MIT, which was asking the question of, do we still need Python in the age of AI? Do we still need to learn Python? If you don't know what Python is, then yeah, you are probably watching the wrong video. And the answer was that absolutely yes, we need to learn Python in the age of artificial intelligence. And more than anything, what I found there to be many responses in that video done by MIT, which I'm going to try to share below, is that many people realize that when they are trying to to run complex commands that run multi-layered and multi-staged processes which require Python, and then they try to do them using artificial intelligence, they found that these commands tend to not work, because what tends to happen is that artificial intelligence gets the code incorrectly, which then means that after they've tried to create or to write the code or to code using artificial intelligence, they still need to go back and correct it because artificial intelligence gets it incorrectly. And in many instances, it gets it so incorrect that they have to redo it completely. And obviously, what do you think is the minimum requirement for a person to be able to go check a command line code that is based on Python, other than the fact that this person is actually competent on Python? Yes? You get where I'm going with this? So then a lot of these things that people say, no, we no longer need coders because this tool is going to do it, it presupposes that the person who is checking what artificial intelligence is doing is a competent coder. It was the same situation with when they were saying that, I was saying it is almost impossible that artificial intelligence can replicate doing an undergraduate engineering curriculum. It's just not possible. It's not possible. And in order for that to be done, to be automated, it requires someone who is already a trained engineer, who has a thorough understanding of reactor design, mass transfer, thermodynamics 1 and 2, who understands transport phenomena. I don't know what you call it in your country. It could be mass transfer and um, uh, solid and fluid operations, those kind of courses, momentum transfer, those courses which are done in second year or third year. I'm talking about chemical engineering now. It requires someone who already has the understanding and the competence in these key chemical engineering disciplines in order to use that information. And then after that, they already understand the curriculum and they're already competent in it. Then they must have already passed not just undergraduate numerical methods. They need to have passed advanced numerical methods, which is often done in postgraduate engineering or science studies, and they must have done advanced computational science in order for them to be able to use artificial intelligence to be able to replicate the undergraduate engineering curriculum. Some of the claims that get made are just so asinine. You can only conclude that the person who is making these statements doesn't understand how engineers get trained. They don't understand what engineers do. They don't understand what graduate engineers do. When I saw that story done by CBS that claimed that graduate mechanical engineers in the United States are being replaced by artificial intelligence, I already knew that these people have no clue what graduate mechanical engineers do. Because if they knew what mechanical engineers do, even at the graduate level, they would already know that it is impossible to get the work they do to be done by a machine. There is no machine that can do that work. That's just not possible. So at the level of saying that, okay, Shopify, which employs coders mostly, IT specialists, we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see in terms of to what extent is this directive by its CEO that staffers need to prove that jobs can be done by artificial intelligence before asking for more employees. We're going to have to wait and see. Because the very same people who need to use the artificial intelligence tools need to be competent coders. often competent in various coding languages, and having years of experience of troubleshooting, debugging systems, building systems. So much so that you can't just take that this directive, which we have not seen, don't have any data that can tell us for now in terms of what has its impact been so far. Because it could very well be that the hiring managers will go back to him and say, listen, what we will do is that we're going to require that our new employees must use artificial intelligence for some of the tasks. But in terms of hiring, we need to hire. You really don't have any data to tell us anything else other than that. And also, one of the things that you tend to see when it comes to this artificial intelligence debate is that people like to conflate the increased spend of companies on artificial intelligence tools and reduced hirings, and then they tend to say that these two things are correlated or have some sort of causality relationship without evidence, without providing any evidence. It is nothing, very few things are filled with so much misinformation and lies and misleading statements as the issue around artificial intelligence. It is very difficult to sort out fact from fiction. And I think that we're going to have to endure this nonsense for a couple of years until we have enough data to show us that, okay, this is actually what artificial intelligence looks like in the labor space. This is how companies are using it. This is how employees are using it. And if there have been jobs lost, what percentage of jobs were lost, in what sectors, what kind of jobs were lost. Till then, all you are seeing is just wild speculation. And then people saying because they can't get jobs, they assume the reason why I can't get a job is because of artificial intelligence. No evidence at all that you not being able to get a job has anything to do with artificial intelligence, or people are being laid off and then they blame artificial. No evidence also. No evidence that people being laid off or being retrenched has anything to do with artificial intelligence. Sometimes people are just being retrenched or laid off because the company is just not making money. Or sometimes it's just that the company had hired too many people in the past and the company is not growing fast enough to justify these employees that they hired. Sometimes laying off and retrenching are just economic cycles. The economy is going through, or that particular sector is going through a downturn. There's all kinds of reasons why retrenching or laying off might happen. It could be just that the company is taking a strategic move towards a particular sector, therefore they have to lay off certain employees. But you can't just blame artificial intelligence for all firings, all layoffs, or you need evidence, folks. Evidence. Evidence. With that said, I know that some of you are gonna see this, watch this, and not gonna care a damn about anything. That you are just committed to the idea that artificial intelligence is taking jobs. Nothing will convince you. But if you are one of those people, then this is not the right video for you. Because here we only deal with evidence. Evidence. Even in the situations like Shopify, where the CEO issued an actual document telling employees that before you hire people, we want to see that artificial intelligence can't do the job. We still have to apply a wait and see approach. Maybe by the end of the 2026 financial year, we can have data from Shopify to see in terms of how did that directive affect their hiring. Did it affect it? If it did, by how much? Which departments? What kind of jobs were affected? Till then, just stop with the speculating. Just stop it. Stop it. Cheers, folks.